I just want to see my mom sitting around the dinner table with her friends and say my baby's famous, and I knew it. You know, like,
and it was nothing to it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the truth about it. He knows, and that's how he got where he's at by the same way he's saying it in the song, and we're putting it together. Yeah,
that's it. You know, so all that to say that our imagination is really the conduit, the pipeline between us and God. You know, so that's one of the many ways that I use my imagination. But I use my imagination for everything. Like, that is a magician's greatest toolkit, and I mean like a real magician, not necessarily like tricks and illusions.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys. Today we have a special guest. One of the men that I look up to a lot is David Lyon, and he's an amazing hypnotist. As you see him on YouTube, you're gonna see a lot of his amazing videos. One of my other favorite ones that he has on there is how to make someone forget your name, and that video is hilarious. And the guy in that video, he's like, a grown man that had that name for years.
Yeah.
He didn't know his name, dog. Bro didn't know his own name.
Didn't know his name.
A grown-ass man had that name for years. He just...
You know, there's some things that we keep with us our whole life, but it's amazing how easily we could choose to let them go. Because as soon as I tap you on the forehead, your hands and body completely free, but you're going to completely and totally forget your name. It's like, what was your name again? Just gets further and further.
Oh my God! No!
Oh my God.
What does that feel like for you?
Oh my God. You don't know your name?
It's like right here. I know it. Like, it's here.
Right on the tip of your tongue. Just gets further and further.
But I can't, like,
God.
I can't mentally put it out right now.
But look here. Look, here's the thing. Look, watch. Look, watch.
Okay.
Watch it. There it is. You know your name.
It's Sean.
Sean.
Oh my God! No! No! Yeah, it's Sean.
What does that feel like?
That was the most craziest experience I've ever had.
That was so funny. Oh yeah, so I have a few great questions for you to start the introduction of this off. What really inspired you? I know you studied hypnosis for 12 years. What really inspired you to sense that there was a way for people to have freedom and have self-mastery over the patterns in their life to come out on top or to come out in joy? What did you see in hypnosis that actually showed you that it wasn't external magic but real magic? You know, the fun behind it, that was real.
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much hypnosis that did that for me personally. I mean, it was definitely one of the catalysts for sure. It played a role. But I've always been that type of person since I was a kid. You know, I've always been very growth driven, magic driven. You know, I was very in tune with people, what people call the spirit world since I was a kid. I'm very clairvoyant and whatnot. And what hypnosis did give me, however, is it was a much more tangible way of exploring those things that people could relate to and experience. And so in the beginning, you know, back in 2008, I was purely doing hypnosis for entertainment and just, you know, like you saw in the videos, street hypnosis, blowing people away. And then eventually, just through natural evolution, like, people started to ask me deeper questions like, hey, can you use this to help me stop smoking? Can you use this to help me with so-and-so? And at the time I knew nothing about those things, but I'm an explorer, right?
That's right.
And there was a defining moment that really shifted me as a hypnotist or as someone who does hypnosis. And it was, I don't remember how old I was, probably around like 25 years old. And I was hypnotizing a group of people actually at my house. It was my brother's friends. And the short version of the story is basically I had these 3 girls in a trance, and we have this all on video as well. But I had these 3 girls in a trance, and at some point, you know, I was doing all the comedic things, making them laugh and whatever case may be. But at some point I said the words, now I want you to go to a place that is like heaven to you. Not realizing that for one of the women, her mom just passed away.
Mm.
And so all of a sudden, you know, what went from like laughter and comedy, when I said the word of heaven, all of a sudden one of these girls just with her eyes closed, she reached out and she's just like, "Mommy." And she reached out and she's just starts giving this big hug.
Mm.
And I was kind of shook, and I'm looking around the room, and her boyfriend was in the room, and he's just like, "Her mom passed away." Like, he whispers it to me. And so now everyone's looking at me like, you know, what are you gonna do now, hypnotist, right? And so naturally it really kicked my heart into gear, you know, because I used it as an opportunity for her to have a final conversation with her mom, to laugh with her mom, to get advice with her mom, and essentially just get closure with her mother. And then once that was all done, you know, I continued with like one or two more skits just because I wasn't sure what to do. I just wanted to kind of trail from there. And then, like what I always do when I woke them all up, I always give people complete amnesia for everything that happened until the moment that they shake my hand.
Right.
And so I wake them up, and as I'm waking them up, you know, we're all kind of wondering about this one girl, like how she's going to react. And she wakes up and she's like looking around, and she's just like, "Why is everyone looking at me?" She's like, "What's with the camera?" And she's like, why is my face wet?" And I'm like, "So you don't remember anything?" And she's like, "I think I fell asleep." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right, well, thank you for trying anyway." And I put out my hand for her to shake it. And as soon as she shakes my hand, she's just like, "Oh my God, I just felt my mom. I'm going to do everything to pass school. I'm going to do everything to make her happy." And she just went on this like just joyous rant. And it was such a powerful moment, because that's what showed me that hypnosis can be used as a bridge to the spirit world and for getting like closure of things like that. But it inspired my heart towards more growth driven, transformation driven practices. And so that was a huge catalyst for me, for sure.
Wow, you answered that question phenomenally. That's a way that kicked your heart into gear there. That's amazing to see people's reactions. That's the same thing that inspires me as well. I love to see people full with love and having an abundant life, full of joy. And that's what you're working on there all the time on a moment-to-moment basis, you know?
100%, 100%.
I also noticed that you and I both, my whole family when I was younger, we always used to watch David Blaine in the 90s, and growing up and playing as a kid, doing some tricks and with other people, and then going to the magic store a lot whenever we go out to,
Yep.
to do that, or bring it into the school and all the rest. And I remember something mystical happened with David and you in a spiritual sense. That sounds like some type of David Blaine experience and everything as well, the connection that you had with your intention, the way that you were energetically connecting to him, and then something tangible happened. Could you elaborate more on that one, actually?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I was so I was 16 years old at this point in my life. You know, I was at the point in my life that a lot of people get to, where I was just trying to find the thing that makes me special. I was trying to find my thing, you know, because at the time, you know, I went through a lot of psychological bullying in my school. I didn't have very many friends. I felt insecure. And so I saw that all of the people who did have it good, who were popular, they all had a thing, you know, whether they were a rapper or a basketball player or whatnot. And so at that time in my life, I was on the hunt for my thing, and I couldn't find it. I tried, you know, all these different things. And eventually I just decided to, what I now understand as, surrender. You know, so I decided to just, I'm like, all right, you know, maybe I'm not good at anything. Let me just let go of the searching. And then I remember I was in my basement of my house where we were living at the time, and my mom, she yelled down the stairs randomly. She's like, David, turn on the TV. You got to see this new magician on TV named David Blaine. And I'm like, I don't want to see him. He's probably just going to try and copy David Copperfield.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you don't understand. He's doing street magic. He's doing stuff in the street. And I had never heard of street magic in my life. And I just remember I turned on the TV, I saw Blaine doing his thing, and just instantly it was just this, that's what I want to do. And there was just something in the excitement that I had about it. Like, I didn't know how I was going to learn it. I didn't know how to go about learning magic, because especially during those days, you know, it was very, very difficult to learn magic secrets. It's not like today there's all kinds of different teachers and whatnot, you know. So I had no idea how I was going to learn, but that wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was just so excited and happy that I found a thing that spoke to me. And it was the fact that Blaine was able to go up to anybody and blow their mind and show them a good time and make them smile using everyday objects.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I want to do that. I want to be able to bridge that gap between me and others. And so what ended up happening is, I acted on my excitement, so my excitement was to like just try, just to look things up. So I went to the libraries, I went online, and I didn't really find anything very David Blaine-esque, right? Like I found like, good card tricks, but nothing that would really like set the tone in that way.
That's right.
And then again, as I emptied the gas tank of my excitement, at some point I'm like, all right, I'm out of ideas, and I went into another surrender. I'm like, okay, let me let go.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, as soon as I surrendered, I walked into my school. I was in grade 11 at the time, I believe. Yeah, I was in grade 11. I walked into my high school, and as I'm about to go to class, suddenly I just hear a big reaction in the cafeteria. I just hear a whoa, and I look, and there's a dude holding a deck of cards, and there was basically a David Blaine in my school. And I was just like, holy shit. And for the first time, I skipped class, and I followed him around all day, always watching from the outskirts, because I was just appreciating the moments he was creating. And then after he was done being the magician, and he just went back to being Chris, which was his name, I went up to him at his locker, and for whatever, I asked him, I'm like, bro, I've been following you all day. How did you do that one trick where you took a card and you turned it into another card? And for whatever reason, he told me the secret. And in that moment, what he gave me was the thinking of a magician. Beyond just a trick, he told me, it taught me, I'm like, oh, this is how I have to think in terms of magic. And so that's what started the ball rolling into me learning street magic. That was, because I took that trick and I went back to David Blaine, and I was able to pick apart what he was able to do and figure it out for myself. And then it was just like this unfolding of synchronicity that led me to more and more magic and all the things that I do today.
That's right. Yeah. So in the 11th grade, you started to understand the mechanics, and then you went back to the inspiration, and then you added all that fuel as you were digging deep. And I noticed over the time of 12 years that you've gotten so further into it, where you're into the mystical side, where you're like, yo, there's more to this. When you're going back to the Egyptian hieroglyphics, and you're seeing where the truth is in there as well on the mystical side. If I'm doing like a deliverance, I'm tapping into parts of the hypnosis, and I'm like not getting it nowhere near as you. So me and my buddies, David knows how to do a real deliverance instead of the people coming.
What do you mean by deliverance?
Where people are getting delivered out of their patterns when we do
oh, got it.
Yep, like the religions call a deliverance, and the person has these thoughts that are stuck in their body.
Yes.
And those patterns that they're stuck in, to actually get them all the way there, because sometimes the person's coming out of it, or the person's having they're stuck in an illusion that we're trying to help them get out of. Yep.
Yes.
But you said something I remember about how you're shifting your eyes, and when you shift your eyes, you go into like the subconscious, and you can hit there, if that's the right term for it, and then. Because that's what I do as well in my videos. There's some orbs coming out, and I look into somebody's eyes. As I'm looking there, I have this serious intention. And the eyes are the gateway of the soul, and there's this intention connection. Right when I snap my finger, a bunch of orbs and photon lights shoot out, and the person's feeling the goosebumps and the chills all over their body. If I say, be healed now, just like you when you get sleep, and that snap, how it triggers in the brain, and the mechanics that you learn, the mystical side that's not really taught within, where only you can teach yourself in a way, but we can instruct others about what's going on inside the mechanics of the body, how we're positioning ourselves and resting ourselves and letting go and having trust. There's a vibrational connection on it and the deepness behind it. But you understand it more than I've seen anybody else, even at your age. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. A big part of it for me is playfulness. Mm-hmm. I the spirit of playfulness is highly underrated and extremely powerful. Right. Oftentimes people, be it healers or hypnotherapists or psychologists, they approach things very seriously, very rigidly, very, okay, let me figure things out. But what's important to understand is that, if the energy of rigidity and seriousness is over here, the energy of playfulness is over here. So you can access way more of your consciousness, way more of your gifts in the energy of playfulness. And chances are the person that you're helping, if they're also serious about their issues and you're also serious about it with them, you're not taking them anywhere further per se. But if you're going into a playful vibration yourself and you're elevating yourself, so regardless of what they say, I mean, I've had clients come to me and be like, I'm depressed, I want to kill myself, my life is over, da da da. And so they're coming to me in this energy. And what most people will do is be like, I hear you, I'm really sorry for you, like I get it, we're gonna work through this. And so they kind of comfort them, but they're meeting them in their energy, which doesn't necessarily mean they could take them higher. When I have people tell me that, I'm literally, and I sincerely tell them, like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, and which is, you know, which happens to be a pattern interrupt, even if that's not the intent. It's not like, I'm not using it as a technique, it just so happens to be a pattern interrupt. But you know, when I say that's amazing, I mean it, because I know that if they're at that low and they're at rock bottom, there's no place they can go but up, and they're with me, so I know they're going to have a magical time and we're going to have some breakthroughs. So the spirit of playfulness is really where the magic is at, in terms of coming up with the intuitions and the clarity and the guidance and the creativity that allows you to use your tools and hypnosis and whatever else in magnificent ways. So that's honestly one of my biggest quote unquote secrets, not so secret, is the spirit of playfulness. And other than that, I really make use of, like, aside from hypnosis, I really make a lot of use out of my clairvoyant gifts and my channeling gifts to see what's going on in their energetic field, so that I could use, be it my language or techniques, to create the shifts that I know are wanting to happen in them.
Phenomenal. The spiritual playfulness is like a spiritual money or spiritual currency for a physical blessing, and that's where we have our budget on an assignment to afford the things that we need in life to have a higher consciousness to experience. That's a beautiful way to look at it. And I like how you say that that's amazing when someone says, Nico, I disagree with a lot of your beliefs, and I don't want no beliefs anyway, but I go, that's amazing, because I want to honor their imagination and
Yes.
stay in friendship and stay playing. Say, as you have to be like a child to enter the kingdom, to enter the joy, to enter the bliss, to really experience and live in the now. And
That's it. And it's also understanding that, like, you know, for people who are, you know, a lot of people these days are really getting more in tune with, whether you want to call it spirit guides. I don't care about the label, but we'll you know, I'm just gonna call it spirit. Cool. You know, so a lot of people are wanting to get more in tune with spirit, and one of the most important things to understand is that spirit is a very playful energy. Spirit is playful, it's creative, you know. So in order to have that kind of communication, you have to meet it on its radio station. And so this is why there's so many people who have been practicing meditation and all these Reiki and all these different things for years upon years, but feel like they're unable to communicate with their spirit guides or read energy without using plant medicine. It's because they're doing so seriously. They're doing all the right practices with a serious energy, so they're staying off of the radio station of those non-physical beings and gifts, you know. But that's where playfulness is really the secret sauce.
I love that very much. There's a training that I do on a daily basis, and I have a team together where I'm running a school, and what we do is I'll show you right here. We have on one of the classes we have a blindfold, and you might have seen this. It's a mindfold mask.
Yep.
And what we do with it is we exercise all the spiritual senses so we can enhance them. And I'll take maybe it's a color card, and I'll throw it back there, and they can hear with their ears. It sounds like a red to pick up the frequency, or I'll read them a story about each sense and see which ones they pick up on and how much they remember, and then we'll have some with symbols, and I'll put it on the camera real fast, and they can taste grapes bursting in their mouth, and they've never done that before. And then
amazing.
When we do like a reading on each other, if they're not picking something up, then we'll have them switch to another sense because they're not being playful. And the moment that they switch to another sense is the moment they get playful. It's funny because the logical mind starts to wait and pick up so long, where I'm like, if you're not getting nothing like in 2 seconds, move to the next sense. And
yes,
as soon as they do, it's like a 3, 2, 1, boom, and they'll get it. And
awesome.
Then they can flow better, and because they're remembering how that flowing is by letting go.
Yeah. Super cool. Yeah, I love it, man.
Also on your school and on your classes, you have this curriculum, but not to get too deep on it, but on building rapport, you mentioned as building trust. You're meeting people at their energy level that you can sense on their countenance. You can sense they have the heavy shoulders, because you also read on body language, and you can feel it naturally on a person. Right when you walk up, you can actually sense some of the tension or the energy in the air, and intuitively you're picking up the senses on, is the person I'm judging because of the fear of what they have of hypnosis, or are they open to a healing? And you can tell if the person's really, really religious, but they're at the same time they're uneducated in the truth of what they're actually studying. They'll have a judgment and a demand on themselves. and then you can actually alter yourself in there by being playful. And even though the person's really serious, you have like a playful and a genuine heart, and an open heart actually gives you that access to help them in their journey. That's the amazing
Yeah,
part about it. You're looking past.
absolutely, man. Yeah, and one of the things that I've come to realize through my hypnosis journey evolution is, instead of, in the beginning, it was all about establishing rapport. And then I came to this realization that I am rapport.
Love that.
And that was a major shift, because then there was, it just dissolved a whole section of the teaching, so to speak. But when you know yourself as rapport, and when I say that, what I mean is like, just show up as joy. Show up, embody your shine. If you simply show up as joy, as your shine, as who you truly are in your fully expressed self, you will be rapport, because you're going to be that shine that people are like, oh, why is he so shiny? I want to get to know him. Because you're going to be emitting the kind of vibes that people want to get to know, which as a side effect creates rapport.
Wow. Phenomenal answer. Yeah, because when you're showing up as joy, you're showing up with confidence, and then everything can flow. Also, joy is the setting for miracles. Like you were saying earlier, it's that,
Yes.
that frequency for everything to happen. And you experienced yourself when there wasn't joy, or if your day was a little off. Sometimes I remember, like in the past, I used to say this a lot. If I was having like an off day, I'll go out and do miracles. I'll go out and do magic. I'll go out and love on people, and in return, seeing those reactions, stimulate me back up. But now I don't have to do that. Now I'm at a time where I'm monitoring my consciousness with a journal, and I get to be honest with myself. Am I feeling victimized right now? Am I forgetting who I am? And am I reacting to my thoughts internally by what's going on in the outside world as a reflection of me? And I learned a lot of this stuff by observing you alone. Even though you're speaking about it and teaching about it, there's an impartation is the word. They say if you hang out with a millionaire, you become a millionaire eventually.
Yes.
Same thing with you. You're encoding my DNA as I'm observing you in the videos, where I'll watch them over and I'll rewind like certain parts of it when you're doing the act. I'm sure as you've done that as well with other street hypnotists or magicians.
Of course.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the way that I learn when people are asking me. And there's something inside of me that says, if he can do it, I can do it, or it's mine.
Yes.
Now. But with no words, it's just a feeling, which is the secret. That's never good art.
That's yeah, and that's a key. I like what you just said there. It's, if he can do it, I can do it. It's a mentality that not a lot of people have chosen to adopt yet, right. Which they can, which is as simple as you said. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. There's, we have access to the same potential. Thank
right.
you for showing me possibility. Now I'm going to create my own version of it.
Right. That's so true. That's so good. Wow. And another one I'd like to have a talk about as well is, or maybe just a small subject on it. It's one of the biggest topics, and it's been opening up over the past maybe year since it's been exposed more than ever. But knowing about this all my life with family abductees and everything about extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings.
Yes.
Could you go in a little bit about your understanding on that?
Where do you want me to start?
That's the same way I answer that.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience in that realm, beyond research and study. I very often communicate and interact with ETs and interdimensional beings, be it through channeling. I've had a few physical ET contact experiences. So, I mean, I could kind of dive in from anywhere, but yeah, I guess the most important thing I'll lay down as a foundation, and if you want, you can ask me questions from here, is in the beginning, when I first started to communicate with them through trance channeling. At the time, I was communicating with these ET beings, and what they were explaining to me was, as much, and this is back in like 2012, but they were explaining to me how, as much as us humans are fascinated and interested in ETs, the ETs are very interested in us as well. And so and that mutual desire is what creates the possibility for that connection. And what they were explaining is that what ETs were, well, at least at the time, now we've evolved. Well, we more or less evolved from that point. But what they were saying was that what ETs were most teaching us humans was how to operate as a collective. Yep. Because ETs very much operate as one mind, as a collective. And so that we were learning collective energy from the ET races, where what the ETs are most learning from humans is the idea of ego and having a unique identity. And so what they were explaining to me was like, you know, like humans will have like this is my special chain, it makes me me, you know, this is my swag, this is my special pen, you know. So it's a unique identity factor that is new to them. So they're learning unique identity from us, and we're learning collective. And that was the foundation that was laid for me, and has since evolved, you know, greatly, you know. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to unpack something, but that's, yeah.
That's honestly the most organized way that I've ever heard it explained in that way.
Yeah, there's tons and tons of different ET races. I've communicated with quite a few of them, you know. But yeah, you know, there are ETs that help you develop your spiritual gifts. You know, there are a huge part of a huge amount of ETs are actually our great grandchildren.
That's right.
Not grandparents, grandchildren.
That's
you know,
right.
so when we, you know, so through, you know, whether you hear abductee stories or just there's certain soul contracts that we've made prior to incarnating that allows them to use our genetics mixed with other genetics that allows them to continue their race. And so that's how they are our great grandchildren, and why they're so interested in helping us, because they remember more than we do. And they're like, oh, our forefathers forgot, let's stand as that light for them so that they can remember who they are.
That's it. That is beautifully said, and so true, and makes the most spiritual sense, or spiritual dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Also on your healing videos, I've seen where there was this lady who couldn't touch her toes, and you get her into the. Actually, I like to say it like this as well. I love how you're mentioning Osiris as being the subconscious mind, and the alien technology. How you can pretty much introduce the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. So basically, when the lady was touching her toes, and she couldn't do that before, but she was doing it hypnotically, like she's done it all the time. You know. Of course, but when she stands back up, she's healed. When did you first start experimenting with the healing as you were coming into the magic and hypnosis?
Well, first, just to make a quick correction. So it was what I'd received was it's Osiris who created hypnosis.
That's it. Yeah.
So, yeah, and Osiris is known as the god of the underworld, and underworld is just another word for subconscious realms.
Thank you.
And
yes.
so that's where. And so that's where it goes really deep, you know, because if you really start to know who Osiris is, you realize that hypnosis was given to us by a higher being, an extraterrestrial being. And this is why it makes sense that, you know, it could plug us into all these worlds, because it's coming from a being who has those connections, if that makes sense. And so I just wanted to clarify that. And in terms of when I started to explore with healing, I saw a psychic a long time ago, and this is back in the days when I didn't fully know if I even believed in psychics, let alone realize that we're all psychic. And she had told me that I was going to be a healer, and I thought she was batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I was just like, I got enough of my own problems. Last thing I want to deal with is other people's problems. But sure enough, she was right. You know, certain things happened in my life. I just, you know, and I believe this is true for every person who has that calling, but in those moments where people were having problems, your heart kicks into a certain gear, and then you just download a certain intelligence and creativity that allows you to manifest miracles, to facilitate miracles. And so, you know, it started with small things like, you know, helping people stop smoking.
Yeah.
But then it evolved to, you know, I healed someone who had gallstone issues, and the doctors told him it was incurable. Right. You know, he said there's no and this is all documented, you know, he's like, there's nothing we can do. And so I healed him of his gallstone issues by locating the emotional cause, healing that, and then as a side effect, it healed the gallstones. Right. And, you know, so I've done that with gallstones, with epilepsy, you know, so it just came from this, whether it was healing or otherwise, or spiritual gifts. I've always just had this curiosity towards possibility. Mm-hmm. You know, I believe strongly in possibility. And there's a great quote from Alice in Wonderland. It says, everyone wants a magical solution to their problems, mm-hmm. yet everyone refuses to believe in magic.
Wow.
Right. Mm-hmm. And there's so much gold in that, because that's really how I think, is I think in terms of magic. There's no such thing as impossible in my brain at all. So yeah, so it started with hypnosis and just doing things that people said were impossible. And then eventually I just grew into this confidence where I just know, as long as I have a feeling, I can help you find a solution.
That's right.
You know, like even the other day I had someone who with astigmatism. I've never worked on astigmatism or eyes before. And she asked me if I could do something. And I said very honestly, I'm like, I don't know. I'm happy to explore. You know, worst case, nothing happens. However, I do have a feeling I could sense something, so I do feel possibility and potential. And that feeling was all I needed to guide me into releasing the thing that was preventing the healing of her eyes, and to lead her towards certain things that she can practice, that she discovered completely from within, that would lead towards her healing. So that healing is still in process, but now the block has been removed.
That's it. Exactly. When I do the healings as well, I like the way you grammarize it with the person, so they're not left with high hopes and an attitude. But it was about the only change that could come is from within the person, but you can help guide them to removing the blockage. Is I'm honest with myself and with the person, and it was actually here a few days ago. This lady named Wendy, where she had a real bad back issue, and I said, yeah, I'm going to do a temporary healing, because you have to remove this burden, which is coming from the lower back, stands for like a financial burden and the relationships. So I just, I didn't touch her. I just felt the energy. I wanted her to show her something, and she can feel where the tension was. And I told her to match her energy intensity with it. So she did. And then I told her to relax her hand, and that which you're connected to also relaxes. So she did that. And
Beautiful.
then she started freaking out, like, oh my God, of course. And
Beautiful.
I said yes, but be more of a giver in your relationships, and don't be holding on, like worrying about the money all the time, because your spirit man, or your soul, your mind, your pattern won't grow a cubic inch. You're gonna remain in the same patterns, and these thoughts, need somewhere to go. There's rooms all over our body, and they need to be stored somewhere. We're inviting them back in. But it's just the energy needs to be transmuted. It needs to be loved. The free radicals need some electrons. So
Yes.
that's what she did there. And
beautiful, man. I love it.
yeah, and then when she left, she ended up having golden dust all over her thighs. She told me, and then gave me a video and a testimony on her thighs and on her arms and on her hands. And then she grew, without me telling me, I just had the video. She grew her own leg out because her hip was shifted. And that's what's causing a lot of
amazing.
Yeah, and she was like, oh wow. And then the next day she came over for training. I put the blindfold on her. I'm like, hey, do you know your tag number? And she's like, no. And I said, I seen it like quantum entanglement. Now you can do it just by constantly. You can hear it in my voice as I speak to you. And then she got it.
Yes.
And then her dad passed away. So I was sensing like a father coming. First time she ever had an encounter with her father after he passed away, and she ends up having pretty much an encounter with her father, and crying and emotional and all the rest. It was a lot more to it, but yeah, it was amazing and cool. But same thing with the thoughts in the body, removing the blockages, and showing that person how to get out of their pattern by thinking opposite. That's the antidote. To think positive pretty much about the negative situation they were pondering on, got ingrained in the subconscious.
That's beautiful, man. I love it, brother.
Thank you very much. They don't call me David Lion for nothing. Yeah. Yeah, man. What is your favorite meditation for you yourself, and why?
Ooh, my favorite meditation. That's a great question. I've never been asked that. My favorite meditation for myself is playfulness.
Good.
And I'll elaborate what I mean by that. But so I'm not someone who does a lot of formal meditation, meaning like eyes closed, I'm going to do this for an hour a day or whatever case may be. I only do that kind of meditation, or any kind of meditation, when I feel called. Cool. So I'm never rigid with myself. I'm not disciplined with myself in that sense. I'm very blissciplined, if anything. So when I say playfulness, anything that is leading me in a playful and fun direction is going to bring me very deeply engaged into the present moment. And so I'm constantly in a meditative space, whether I'm going for a walk, whether I'm giving a session, doing a podcast, doing formal meditation, doing the dishes. That is my favorite quote unquote meditation style because it's the most easy, it's the most engaging, and it very naturally quiets the mind. I mean, I'm someone whose mind is always quiet anyway, but for people who aren't like that, if you do things out of playfulness and passion, just like a kid, you can't think and be immersed in the sensations of fun at the same time. When there's so much going on in your inner world that feel good, there's no energy left for thinking. You're just in the space of feeling. So anything that is in the direction of playfulness and fun.
So an example would be like you turn on some music and you get some groove going and you're dancing, and then you take the plate and the sponge and you go yum 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 yum.
That might be it. Yeah, like, for example, like yesterday I just randomly felt called to just go for a walk. And so, but because there was what I'm wanting to emphasize here is that there was a calling feeling. It wasn't about going for the walk.
That's right.
It was that there was a calling feeling, because what I always tell people, the most important practice that you could ever learn to master is that applies to every single situation, is to always move in the direction of a lighter feeling. That's it. If you could master that, if people could master always moving in the direction of a lighter feeling, your life will become an explosion of magic and synchronicity and miracles. And the reason for it is that so many people are so physically focused as opposed to vibrationally focused. They're very focused on the money they don't have, the stress in front of them, the work that's not getting done. And so they get all this tension and frustration on the inside. Right. Where if they consciously choose to go, okay, wait, let me move in the direction of a lighter feeling. So they might be, let's say, trying to get something done on the computer and they're like, I have to because of deadlines. That doesn't feel like a light feeling. Even though your mind's saying this is important and needs to get done, if it feels rigid, if it feels dense, stop and go, okay, what is the direction of a lighter feeling? And then that lighter feeling might be like, just let go for now. Right. And the mind might be like, yeah, no, but I can't because I'm going to let go for now because I'm going to trust and invest in the lighter feeling rather than invest in struggle.
Wow.
So you invest in the lighter feeling, you let go, and then you go, okay, now where's the lighter feeling? And it might be like, you know what? I haven't eaten all day. Let me cook for myself. And so you cook for yourself from a place of self-compassion and joy. And now you bring your energy from here to here. Wow. And so you're constantly just following this lighter feeling, going for a walk, until eventually you come into the vibrational vicinity of clarity, inspiration, joy, guidance, and all these things just from following the lighter feeling. And then you just find yourself way more energetically focused because you're more sensitive to inspiration, to clarity, all those things. And it leaves you in a very meditative state because you're in clarity. That's right? So if you simply practice always moving in the direction of lighter feeling, whether you're in an argument with a lover, whether you're making a business deal, whether you're doing hypnosis, the lighter feeling always has the wisdom for you in every situation. So it takes practice because people have a certain momentum build up in their mind. But if you practice this, my challenge I always give for people is 7 days. I like the metaphor, whether it's a truth or a metaphor. I love the metaphor of God created the world in 7 days. To me, that tells me that it takes 7 days to create a whole new world and reality for yourself. And as Jay-Z said, difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. Wow. So the first day might be difficult, but in a week you can create the impossible for yourself and have a completely different reality. So always move in the direction of a lighter feeling.
Yeah, you answered that phenomenally again. As just like the chakras in the body, they say the root chakra is more harder in the beginning, but it gets easier as it goes. As we go to the narrow road, the burden is lighter, and we can sense that by the mind wants to demand how my bill is going to get paid. But if we don't worry and we trust, there's exercises that we do as well with if we put like a shape on a screen, let's say it's a Z, and we put our hand here and we just relax, it would actually start to flow. And then it's actually rigid if we try to push up automatically because the consciousness is so intelligent, and then it will actually do it. And these are exercises that we use to so we can start feeling, or look how your eyes are going. Getting all the tension out of the body, just be light and relax and melt like an NDE. Your life will be great.
Exactly. That's it. It's, because for some people it's, if they're feeling over here, if they're feeling like crap or stressed, and you tell them just act on your highest excitement, just act on your highest inspiration, excitement might be over there for them. So it might be too much of a vibrational jump to find it, which will just cause more stress and pressure on them. But if you instead just say, move in the direction of a lighter feeling, you can always find a lighter feeling. If you're honest with yourself, you can always find a lighter feeling until you get closer and closer to where you can sense excitement, joy, and inspiration again. So it's a practice and principle that will serve you eternally.
So that question was, how is your favorite meditation? Is this is my lifestyle of rest and joy, where if you're sensing that you're not at the playful spot yet, you get yourself there because you know the mechanics, you know how it works in the frequencies, and it's just being honest and real and loving yourself by relaxing from stressing yourself out and clearing the canvas of your mind by being soft and gentle.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I very much, like I said, I live in a meditative state, and I've come to learn and remember that our mind is designed to be an empty space for our heart's visions and intuitions, right? It's not designed to be full of the clutter and the thinking and the figuring out. Those are all conditionings. You know, when you came in as the pure being that you are, you had a clear channel, you were an intuitive being, your mind was empty, and you just listened to your heart. And then you were conditioned with some good things and some not so good things. You know, it's critical thinking is good in some cases, but it can be not good in other cases, right? So the more we learn the more we remember our original ways as a being, as an essence, and you empty your mind, you know, for example, a lot of people believe they need to figure things out in life, which if you think about it makes no sense, right? Because our mind is only designed to know how things are happening and how things have happened. Right. It has no idea how the next 5 seconds is going to unfold.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but our intuition, whether you want to call it intuition, life, higher self, God, our intuition knows exactly how things are going to happen, and it guides us through providing us lighter feelings to follow, because it figures that's a very easy, that would feel good to listen to. So it gives us lighter feelings, it gives us excitement, it gives us inspiration, it gives us all that positive energy. And when we choose to listen to it, what we're choosing to do is to tune into where things are already figured out for us, rather than thinking we need to figure things out. And when you can bring consciousness to the idea that you no longer need to figure things out, and that you can tune into where things are already figured out for you, just by looking at the examples in your life. You know, for 100% of the people listening to this, if you look back in your life, in your past, and observe what happened every time you acted on your inspiration or your excitement or your joy, you'll see 100% of the time synchronicity happened, magic happened, good stuff happened, things got figured out for you. So even logically, you can see that this is true. And so there's all kinds of little levels and layers to freeing the mind, but that's a really big one for people that will lead to a more deep meditative state and just an emptier mind.
Wow. Perfectly said. I remember I was giving a biblical breakdown about what you said about when we're a spirit, which is the oneness of all, and we come down as a fractal, which is a soul mind, into this body, and we get programmed by the data world information. It says the law was given to Moses. So your external world reality was given to Moses, which means to draw out of water or to draw out of the meditation. And the moment we come into this world, we're getting programmed, and we're deprogramming and unlearning and being led by the light burden and being led by the breath or the spirit or intuition there, as we're observing and coming under the oxytocins and the grace and having fun, the abundant life. So beautifully done, beautifully said.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Oh yeah, you're on. I'll tell you what, man, you're definitely on the synchronicity avenue.
It's how I live. I live purely through synchronicity. I'm not someone who believes that you need to work your ass off, hustle, grind, struggle, any of those things. They're valid and they will yield certain results, but I really care about the quality of life that I experience as I'm yielding results. I don't want stressful money. I want exciting money. I don't want stressful partnerships. I want exciting partnerships. And so I choose to live entirely through synchronicity. This is what I call living magic, which is my brand, my business, my movement, whatever you want to call it. Living magic is for me the opposite of living struggle. You know, so what the spiritual people call 5D, I just call living magic. So when you learn the art of how to live entirely through synchronicity, entirely through your inspirations and intuitions, and you really embody it and you get the mechanics, And, you know, and I have tons of videos that teach these things on my YouTube. There's one called Living Through Being that you guys can check out. Then you start to see in a very practical and grounded way that it's entirely possible, way more productive to live purely through synchronicity than it is to try and figure things out yourself.
Right. Wow, it's just like observing a child and the way they live their life, how they know everything's going to be taken care of and provided for. So living in magic is living in wondering and living in awe about everything. Like if we're walking in the woods and we say, how beautiful, we just put a label with our grammar, because the brain will say there's extremely beautiful, there's this, and we just cut ourselves off from the magic. We cut ourselves off from the awe and the wonder, and we do that a lot on a moment-to-moment basis, and we're putting tension on ourselves. But like you say, living in the being, is that you said on your video?
Living through being.
Living through being. That's it.
Yeah, because a lot of people think they need to do things. You know, like I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and it's usually coming from an energy of like hustle or pressure or push or force. I have no problem with doing. I mean, we need to do things in this reality, but where is that doing coming from? Is that doing coming as a natural side effect of your inspirations where you just get pulled into action? Or is it you pushing yourself and efforting in order to get things done? Because again, it's both valid. But at the end of the day, what I always like to remind people is that your only job, your only work is to blossom. That's it. It's to blossom yourself. You know, there's a quote. It says, the flower doesn't dream of the bee, right? It doesn't dream of clients. It doesn't dream of abundance. It doesn't dream of opportunities. It blossoms and then the bees come.
Wow.
Right. And so there's a great wisdom in there if you pay attention, which is basically saying that the only thing you ever need to do in life is blossom like the flower, to move deeper into your freedom, deeper into your expansion, deeper into your joy. Anything that makes you feel like more of yourself, more like a full-fledged being, you have no choice but to attract bees that are reflective of your blossom. And that is living through synchronicity. That is living magic.
Feeling yourself into your identity by just being, then you will find yourself doing the things that you want to do instead of demanding and working yourself into it. You will look back and say, wow, the whole time I've been doing this, and you know, look where I'm at now.
That's it. You attract everything to you, and there's no need for goals. You know, I'm not someone who uses goals either. You know, a lot of coaches, you got to have goal setting and this, that, and the other, and that's great. For some people that works. I rather simply attract everything to me and show me, because I might set a goal from a certain state of consciousness that has nothing to do with my greater purpose, you know, from the level of perception I'm seeing things through. But if I simply blossom myself, you know, so if I go from, you know, if I'm feeling frustrated and cranky, I'm going to see things in a certain kind of way. But if I follow the lighter feeling and go more towards freedom and blossom myself, from that more joyous state, I'm going to see things in a completely different way and attract different things, because, you know, joy attracts more joy. So rather than setting goals as a way to move my life forward, I just follow my blossom. That's it.
Love that. It's like following your heart, because if we have in our mind, if we want to win the lottery, or in our brain we want to win the lottery, but it's not our heart's passion right now, it's going to be out of alignment because we're missing the mark of the goal, and we're putting demand in front of us, and then we get frustration, and you know, we're getting further away from listening to our intuition.
Yes, exactly. Those are really the only two tools you really need in your consciousness, are your intuition and your inspiration. That's it. With that, you know, you need to have courage, because without courage, which I define as like having the audacity to live your truth. Without courage, you don't have your foot on the pedal. You're not going to, you know, you could get all the intuitions and inspirations you want, but if you don't have the courage to live those inspirations or inspirations, you're not going to go anywhere. So courage is required. Humility is required. Intuition, inspiration. Working your ass off is not required.
Right. That's the truth. You're right about that. I'd like to soak in. You and I are really putting a lot. This is like a free life coach class for a lot of individuals checking this out about what to really do. So I want to speak about imagination with you, because you spoke about that a lot, and
yes,
and I like your take on it. Could you actually speak about imagination in the context of creating a reality?
Essentially, the way I mean, I use my imagination for everything. The way I use my imagination is to perceive possibility. There's, there's using my.
Is that where inspiration's coming from?
Absolutely, yeah. Because like your imagination is one of the spaces where your soul communicates with you through, right? Because your imagination is an infinite realm, and so that is where the infiniteness of your soul, of your guides, of God, could communicate to you very easily. For example, I remember. Here's a perfect example. So I performed for. I achieved a. Sorry, I achieved the dream and of performing for Drake back in 2010.
Yeah, I see that.
But I could also pinpoint exactly how I manifested that, where it was no mistake. It happened purely through the guidance of my imagination, because I was jamming with my boy O'Neal. We were in my room. I just finished filming a whole bunch of street magic videos, and just, on that high of accomplishing so much. And we're in my room and we're listening to Drake music, because he was a huge, and still is a huge inspiration to my craft. And, we're just jamming, we're smoking and drinking and stuff like that. And at some point, I said, while listening to Drake, I was listening to the song Closer to My Dreams. I said, I'm like, I would love to just shake his hand and to say thank you.
Right.
And so I had an inspiration from a very pure space. I said it, and all of a sudden in my imagination, I got a flash that told me to make a demo video, a montage out of all my magic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems completely disconnected from Drake, but that's what my imagination showed me for whatever reason.
Right.
So I said, okay. So I told my boy, I'm like, let's make a montage, let's make a demo video. And then that's what's on my YouTube channel now, known as From David Blaine to David Lyon.
Right, right.
So I made that video. That video ended up going viral. It got on World Star. From World Star, someone in Toronto saw me and said, hey, we saw your video. Would you like to perform on City TV for Christmas Eve? I came and I performed on City TV, and then my phone rang after that performance, and someone's like, I saw you, you killed it. How would you like to perform for Drake on Boxing Day?
Wow.
So just from me, so it's, if you're not paying attention to the subtleties of synchronicity, it might seem like a random occurrence. But when I trace back the thread to how that seed blossomed, it all started from the inspiration of I want to shake his hand, and then listening to my imagination and the flash within it.
Wow, and that song, Closer to My Dreams, as you hear, it says, I'm getting higher, and you were getting closer to your dreams on there.
Yeah, there was a bar in there that always got me, like, it would even get me emotional, where it was just like, he said something like, I just saw my mom, I just want to see my mom sitting around the dinner table with her friends and say my baby's famous, and I knew it. Like,
and it was nothing to it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the truth about it. He knows, and that's how he got where he's at. By the same way he's saying it in the song, and we're putting it together.
That's it. So all that to say that our imagination is really the conduit, the pipeline between us and God. So that's one of the many ways that I use my imagination. But I use my imagination for everything. Like, that is a magician's greatest toolkit, and I mean like a real magician, not necessarily like tricks and illusions.
Have you speaking of tricks and illusions, have you seen the movie of The Illusionist?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I like that movie. I watched it. I watched it a few times.
Yeah, so I don't remember it very well, but I watched it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's an older movie. Yeah, same thing. I like to watch all the everything magic, and it gets my mind. It puts me in that state of the wondering and the and that's that high. I like to chill out.
Yeah, there's a great quote that I heard a teacher say not long ago that I loved, where he said, it's not what the eyes see that is the magic of life. It's that the eyes can see that is the magic of life.
That's good.
And he went on, same thing, with the ears, what the ears hear, and so on and so forth. But it's there's a true depth in that, and that's really how I experience reality. Like, there's nothing that I look at that to me is not magical. I'm always living, breathing magic, and so there's really a depth into that teaching of experiencing the world of magic and discovering where magic meets life.
Right. So it was speaking about it's not the fact that the eyes have the ability to see, but the fact that the eyes have the experience to see, you know, to live in that.
Exactly.
See, that's a real beautiful quote. And if we ponder on that, we can actually start experiencing through the impartation of the quote.
Yes, yes, exactly. So it's all about attuning yourself. So I feel like, I'm not familiar with your audience, but from what I sense
They're open.
in the people listening and who will be listening to this, what they're probably really looking for is just how to attune to that higher vibrational version of themselves that can more easily
Yeah.
experience the world as magic. And so we've touched on a lot of different things here, following the lighter feeling, your intuitions and inspirations and all that kind of stuff. But what it really comes down to is understanding there's an acronym that I use when I'm teaching real magic, which is I am, where that acronym stands for intention plus action equals magic,
Love that.
or intuition plus action, or inspiration plus action. Any one of those I's equals magic. And so to be aware of what intention you're setting for yourself in your life, because your intention is what sets the sails of your consciousness for your intuition to guide you through.
That's our prayer.
Right.
Intention.
Yeah. So if your intention is just to be right and to figure things out, that might be a more stressful intention. My eternal intention always is the highest good for all involved. That's it. It's my autopilot intention, highest good for all involved. And that's what the flow of my life directs me towards, those lighter and lighter realities, because at the end of the day, like I always say, heaven, whether you want to use the word heaven or your dreams, but heaven is not a destination. It's a state of being.
That's right. 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the viewers and the viewers that we have here is all about how do we walk in our identity, how do we walk in unconditional love, and that's what's being taught. That it's your state of consciousness on a moment to moment basis. We're like it's like the brainwave state. Sometimes it's like a roller coaster, but we can remain no longer victimized and moved, by keeping the integrity or the intention aligned. And it's a narrow road, and we work on it. It's a lifestyle, and that's what we're choosing to do for the mutual benefit of the world, as you say.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Road is you pushed out, as Neville Goddard says.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, let's tell everyone how to reach you from my channel there, where everyone can get in contact with you. I'll put the links as well in the description.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, best way is through my website, which is www.livingmagic.life. That's where you'll find all my services and products. And I have a really awesome course on there called Opening to Channel, which a lot of people might want to check out. It's a 7-day training program that teaches you how to connect to source and your spiritual gifts and guides in a very practical and simple way. I feel like people would appreciate that. And otherwise, Instagram and YouTube are my main dojos, so just check out my name, David Lyon spelled like the animal, and you'll find me on the social medias.
Awesome. See y'all. Thank y'all. Yeah, check David Lyon out if you want to learn hypnosis, and he'll teach you the truth and the reality behind it.